Speak your affirmations out loud as you touch yourself. Has your higher self made love to you? Tell yourself how beautiful your body parts are, every piece that creates you. Doesn't your erotic voice turn you on? Delicious. This is what your sex sounds like. Vicious. Create until you're dripping from your own mind. How delicious and nasty it feels to be loved. Higher self smiling down on what she's always asked of you, to sacredly fuck yourself. Hey soul babies, happy Friday. Welcome to the next episode of Satin Soul Bits. Today we have an amazing guest. Her name is Azia Archer, and she is a writer, doula, and intuitive living in Minnesota. She's the author of Atoms and Evers and runs Tiny Flames Press, which I have a column there called Soul Bits on Fire. You should go check that out. Azia is a jade egg practitioner currently studying under Amara Charles, and she is dedicated to sacred sexuality, assisting those who seek to remember and embrace the power and pleasure of being in the body, which is perfect for our conversation today. You can find her online on Twitter and Instagram at A Black Hole Sun, which we will put below in the information. And her website is aziaarcher.com, Azia with a Z. Welcome, Azia. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Yay, welcome. I've been really excited about this episode for weeks. And today we're talking about shame and insecurity in terms of sex, but also womanhood in general, and breaking out of being docile and kind of, we talk about wild women a lot on social media, and I definitely tapped into that in my book, Mouth Made of Satin, through Wide Eyes Publishing. It is coming out in August, and I really wanted to bring out the feminine and tap into that wild woman aspect within myself. I feel like through writing that, it really healed. I mean, it didn't fully heal, but everything, because everything happens in spirals and whatever, but
yes,
it definitely helped me tap into a more empowered, commanding energy in terms of, yes, sex, it's a collection of erotic poetry, but also as a woman, and as a woman who's growing up and becoming an adult, I kind of stepped into this different zone. And it's funny that we're talking about this shame so much, because I feel like I was just talking about this yesterday with my editor, that these poems really, even though they're, they stem from a kind of trauma or hurtful experience, just for the sake of not just labeling it trauma, but, all kinds of things that...
Like the alchemy, the process of moving through trauma and going back and reflecting and finding the power in it.
Yes. I actually love that you use that word for that, because I haven't thought of that in terms of this project. But that really actually is what I was doing, because while I'm writing it, I was writing about literal things that I was experiencing in terms of, like the poem that I read in the beginning of this episode. And I didn't want to share this part publicly necessarily, but I will, because it doesn't matter now. That poem was something that I wrote because that's what I did. Like, that was something that I was experiencing, and then I wrote about it, because that's like literally what I did, but I've kind of turned it into, because, I wrote it in second person. So it was like, I want other people to experience this kind of alchemy, as you just put it. That's like the perfect way to say it.
Well, yes, and the line, doesn't your erotic voice turn you on? That is such a vulnerable thing to say, because it's something that many of us don't even want to admit. So I think you putting that in there is powerful, and it takes so much courage even to, admit that it's something that you actually went through, because it's going to help more women be like, I know exactly what she's talking about. Yes. Like, I felt that too. Like, be sexual is a beautiful thing. Like, I think the entire poem is so important.
Thank you.
Just so important.
Yeah, thank you. It's crazy. When I wrote it, I didn't really think about what I was saying or like, because I mean, for me, I don't force poems, and I definitely don't. I usually just like write down. I tweeted this the other day. It's like automatic writing for me.
Okay.
So it's like, and by the time this comes out, it will not be the other day, but like I just write, and I don't. Sometimes I mean, obviously I'm thinking about what I'm writing, but looking back when I wrote this, it was like it just kind of poured out, and I might have been thinking about each word that I was writing, but I wasn't thinking about all of the meaning behind it, which, it's a lot deeper than it could come off.
Well, definitely. The first time I read it, like the words like raw and wild and goddess, those were kind of like circulating through my mind, in imagery as I read it. So I just feel like that's, once a woman owns that part of her sexuality, that's when her sex actually finally begins to be so good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then you're kind of, you know what you want, you know what you're capable of, you're in your power, and it just
absolutely,
it really activates your pleasure centers.
Yes, definitely. And what's crazy is that when I wrote that poem, I was like very, very single, and I was very, I guess you could say, celibate on purpose. And it's funny because I wasn't actually like having sex with other people, right? So it's funny because you think that you've healed something, or you think you've worked through something, and then sometimes you get into situations that are like, okay, now's the time to test what you've learned. And it can be, and I'm going to bring this around so it is relevant, that so writing, if you read this poem and it comes off very empowered and in command, and you're owning your sexuality, and then it's interesting that
it's almost like, are you trying to like a mantra, almost like a reclamation mantra, like you're almost like saying it to yourself to convince yourself? Is that kind of where you're going?
That's actually, I love that point, but that is not what I was thinking. But now I can see, I totally see, like, because it is kind of like a invocation of that, because I don't think that at the time I was necessarily, I was feeling it when I was experiencing it, the empowerment, but like, like it's very obvious in the poem, you're alone, right? The subject is alone. And so even if you feel this way, if someone's written something like this, it does, and it's very empowering and all that. It doesn't mean that we still don't go through phases where we're feeling shame or not feeling that empowerment, or we're not comfortable enough to embody that sexual type of goddess thing that this poem might evoke. And so it can be hard, because it doesn't take away, like, yes, these things are important to say, and they can be powerful. And it also is interesting that we do heal in spirals, and that when you're shown different, or you're in certain situations where you're mirrored not that, you know what I mean? Like the opposite. And so it's your time to like, you have to revisit that shadow that's the opposite of this. Does that make sense?
Oh, exactly. I mean, I think this is the kind of work that it's never ending. Like what you were saying, it's a spiral, it's infinite. You're always going to be returning back to it. It goes back to that root metaphor, with your soil needing to be fertile. Like, it's something like you have to constantly tend to. It's not going to, if you don't put in the work, it's not going to bear fruit, essentially. Your tree's not going to grow.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I completely hear you.
Womanhood is something that we have to tend to constantly, right? Of being in our bodies and in our like true selves. I feel like that takes, and I mean, I'm still figuring that out. And so for me, it might be a little more constant than other people, where they're not even thinking about it and they're just embodying it. So it's kind of like moving the conscious effort into embodiment.
Certainly. And it's too, like, every phase or season, however you want to refer to it, as when your body changes, you have to relearn it again. So for someone like me, with a pregnancy, and then your body is different.
Yes.
Or, things like that. You have to relearn yourself, because so much about you changes.
You just made... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You just made me realize that part of I talked about this in the first episode of Satin Soul Bits, my fear of having children and how it comes from like a past life experience and et cetera, et cetera. But
yes.
You just made me realize that another fear about it for me might actually be because I personally have to do so much root chakra work. And I think that in a way, I mean, I could deconstruct further how it links to shame, but I will not do that right now. But I have to do so much constant root chakra work that I think part of my fear is perhaps that I know my body will change when I get pregnant. And so in a way, I've always been afraid of, or as I've gotten older and thought more about having kids, my fear goes, part of my fear goes to my body changing. And I wonder if it's because of my root chakra things.
And definitely, I think that's something, for people that can have children, through their bodies, it's a scary thing. And it's something for, thousands of generations that it's almost like an original trauma.
Yeah.
And if you have a child vaginally, you're blasting open your root chakra and your crown at the same time. You become a portal, essentially. And you're in the most vulnerable state of your life.
Yeah.
I mean, and so I think that's a completely legitimate fear, and I think it's something that everyone experiences. I think that's something, my first child, I got pregnant with while I was on birth control.
Wow.
And I was 21, and I didn't know until I was, about 12 weeks along that I was pregnant with her. It wasn't something, I had the same fears as you. Parenthood wasn't something I ever originally consciously envisioned for myself because I had that fear. My root chakra wasn't balanced, and I was afraid of what would happen to my body. I hadn't really learned the power in my body. The first time I actually even liked the way my body looked, coincidentally, was when I was about 5 months pregnant with my daughter.
Yeah.
That was like the first time that I was like, wow, I am beautiful. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So it was almost like that original trauma, of pregnancy and childbirth that we all are working through almost ended up being something that helped me finally see myself for who I was at the same time. So it almost balanced my root in a way.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Wow.
Of course.
That actually, I love, because it resonates with me. I'm not a mom yet, and I'm definitely, so I'm way further back from you in terms of that, but I resonate with when you were saying your original fears. And then I do notice that a lot of women will, via social media, that they feel much like very beautiful while pregnant. And I think that's kind of beautiful and also interesting. It's interesting that connection of how we can be so hard on ourselves and our bodies, like as non-pregnant people.
Yes.
And then I wonder what changes about the beauty of it. I mean, you probably know, but that's where my thought goes is like, wow, what is it inside of us that makes us feel beautiful when we're pregnant?
I think it really has to do, going even back to what you were talking about earlier, is that wild woman. You really, you feel one with nature.
Yeah.
You really feel grounded and clear in a way that
I can see that.
And, this experience is I can only speak to my own and then clients that I've had, but it's such an empowering thing. But then the baby leaves, and then all of the weight of society comes kind of pouring back on your shoulders, and your body is different, and you kind of forget, in a way, what you just did, because now you have stretch marks, and we've been constantly fed this idea that our bodies need to be small and they need to be firm. We're envious of other people, and we have these images, and it makes us feel self-conscious when we aren't meeting these standards.
Right.
They're impossible.
Well, and between that and what we're told in the media about sex and sexuality and women's sexuality and any identity except for a cis hetero man, in combined with that, it's like, then that leads to the insecure sex that we all
because women, and especially mothers, we don't like sex according to society, and according to how it's reported. It's not something that we enjoy. We have sex because it makes the men feel better, and they'll leave us alone.
Exactly.
Which, is ridiculous.
Right. Like, okay, it's definitely, because it's, of course, that makes it male-centric, and then we're just here to, what, have babies and sit here? Because if we can't work, and we can't have sex that is for us, then we're literally just baby-making machines. That kind of ties into...
Exactly, and it does. It goes into that idea, though, of that myth.
Yes.
That men think about sex every 60 seconds, but women don't.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of women that I've spoken to, they knew at a pretty young age that their vagina, felt good to touch.
Right.
You know what I mean? Most women are experimenting at the same age as young men with their bodies, but we're not supposed to talk about it.
Yeah, no. And I was just going to say that I when you're saying that stuff out loud to me, I feel a sense of fear and shame in my own experiences as a kid. Just from you bringing that up, it's whoa, I know that myth is real, and I feel it.
You felt fear and shame in your own experiences.
In my own experiences as a young girl, because I was experiencing sexual things very young. Not always bad. It was just part of, I feel like every kid kind of does that.
Definitely.
Or explores those things, or I don't know. But yeah, when you brought that up, I was all the red flags and red light, sirens were going off, because I felt oh, something was wrong about me as a kid, what I was doing or whatever. And I wasn't raised religiously. So it's I don't know where that came from for me. Some people, if people have been tracking my past life thing that I've been bringing up, it would maybe link to that. But other than that, I'm not really sure where I got that from. Maybe media, maybe I read something as a kid or saw something, but yeah, I grew up feeling a lot of shame about anything that I experienced as a kid.
Well, I think even language, sometimes possibly there's things in your house that you didn't pick up on. I know for me, my mom, I could say oh, there's a hump in the road over there, and she'd be I don't like that word hump.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Or she called her vagina, she called them cupcakes. Vagina was an incredibly dirty word. We weren't allowed to say it. So
wow.
if a part of you that is so central to, even things like going to the bathroom, it's central to your life as a person, the things that you do day to day, you have a vagina. If you're taught that it's a dirty word to say, or that a word hump is a dirty thing, even if you're talking about a mound of dirt.
Right.
You're going to internalize that, oh, there's something shameful about sex. There's something shameful about a vagina.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's the most subtle way that I think probably most of us experience, is in terms of language and people, or doing things that adults make it inappropriate, and you're okay, but these kids have no idea that that's inappropriate, and now you've just planted that in their heads, and they're going to be self-conscious about for the rest of their life.
Yes, or right, those seeds, that's such a good point.
Yeah, and then what you reminded me of is that my first idea, or my first experience of feeling shame about my body, was when I was told to cover up when I wasn't doing anything or wearing anything that was sexual inherently, but it was deemed inappropriate, and I've never forgotten it. And it made me uncomfortable ever since. And it's it's, just for when you're telling a child to stop doing something because it's inappropriate in a way that's linked to sex. I mean, that's crazy to me. That's fucked up.
Especially when they don't know what sex is yet. They're not registering. They still have their original innocence.
Exactly.
I mean, telling a child to cover up because they're showing too much skin when they're 7 years old, it's too much skin for who? It's obviously there's adults in the room that need to leave because
right.
They're not, they're the ones with issues, not the child showing too much skin.
Right. Especially when they're just in the comfort of their own home, and they're right. feeling like they're in a safe space, and they're just I mean, I was a little older than 7 when that happened to me, but I wasn't in puberty yet or anything. So it was I don't know. And even then, I don't know. It's I don't know I'm not a parent. So it's I don't know, but I don't imagine saying that to my kid in that way.
Well, and it is a slippery slope, and, you know, I'm not going to talk too much about my daughter because I don't want to invade her privacy.
Yeah, no.
You know, she's 11, she's starting puberty.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm seeing the way that, you know, you're naturally as a child coming into your body, that you're aware of it, you know, and how she's, you know, how she feels, how she has to cover up now, and I can see it, but there are healthy ways to go about letting them come into their bodies without adding the layer of shame is one thing I am learning. There is a way to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because you do want them to take care of themselves and you want them to be safe. And so you want to teach them that safety in a nurturing, loving way and not in a shame way.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's really important to definitely not sexualize children and to like, it's all about creating that safe space.
Yeah, so that they can ask questions and recognize that their bodies are changing and that, you know, there are pleasure centers there. Yeah. And that they don't have to feel like they're dirty just for being aware of them.
Mm-hmm. And the earlier that kids feel shamed in their bodies, we carry that into womanhood easily.
Yes.
And
lasting effects.
And then it can even, like, I feel like if you sexualize kids too early and then they feel the shame, or like if because say they embody the shame instead of the sex, because it can go either way, right? Where they're like too like what's the word? Okay. If they go like too much into sex versus the shame. So like say they go the shame route and then as adults they're trying to embody their sexuality, just like what is a lot of what this book is all about that I just wrote or, you know, been writing. That because if you embody the shame and you internalize, I don't want to say embody, I'll say internalize the shame, then it's really hard, or it can be really hard to feel like a sexual adult, like a healthy sexual adult, because that shame embeds itself so deeply.
But yeah, the shame, unhealthy exploration, all of it messes with your psyche. Yeah. You go into it with a skewed vision. Mm-hmm. You know, you are going to have to heal that, and you're going to have to revisit and reprogram your mind and, you know, your heart and how you're viewing these interactions. Yes. Because our society also is sending a mixed signal of this is shameful, but here, let's walk into the mall where there's going to be a 10-foot Victoria's Secret model and a bra on the wall.
Oh my God.
You know, and every time you turn the TV on, there's sex scenes. And so it's like a really mixed message here.
Yeah. And I was actually saying that I think that our country collectively, and probably other countries too, but I only going to speak for America, I think that our country has a collective root chakra problem. And so it's kind of interesting that you brought that up because it's everywhere. These contradictions, it's everywhere. The disassociation from bodies, the way bodies are treated, positively and negatively, like it's all linked to that root and that like, or that block, or, you know, whatever. I feel like it really is country deep.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I am definitely with you on that.
Yeah. Women touching themselves, and often from a relatively young age. I want to go back to that because you did kind of touch on that earlier. And this whole poem is basically about masturbation, obviously. Yes. I don't know what you wanted to say about if there was anything you wanted to say about this specifically.
I just feel masturbation is normal, and I want people to know that there's not a wrong way to do it. There's not. Yeah. You know, I mean, obviously, it can borderline unhealthy with the porn industry in the way that.
Oh yes.
You know what I mean? Yes. I've had partners that were addicted to porn. Mm-hmm. You know, and it really, truly, it ruined our connection. Mm. So I don't. It is a slippery slope to say that there aren't unhealthy ways to masturbate, but we're going to just go in the general direction of both men and women do touch themselves, and that it's not an unnatural, unhealthy thing to do. Mm-hmm. It's about as natural as using the bathroom or going to sleep every night. Right. It's just a part of being a human being, is being aware of those parts of your body. Yeah. And it's a release. It's a way to move creative energy through your body. Mm. You know, it's relaxing. It's like it's a it's a beautiful thing. It's not a shameful thing. It's a stress reducer. I'm just sitting here thinking about how great it truly is.
And if you ever, I've like written an article about this that is probably not on the internet anymore. And I've read other articles that say basically the same thing, that it is a form of self-love. And I know that self-love is totally a buzzword and all that, but it really is an intimacy with yourself. And you learn about yourself, and I feel like I'm preaching to the choir, but I also want to say this because I'm sure that someone needs to hear this, that it is definitely a way of being intimate with yourself and opening up to yourself. And I even think, honestly, maybe it is good for the root chakra. I didn't think about that before, but now that we're talking about it,
most definitely. You are grounding yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You're creating that energy link, that battery effect with yourself.
Yeah.
So you're circulating, and that's going up and down all the chakras.
Yeah. And don't depend on other people. Like, if that's the only way that you're like engaging in sex is only with another person, I feel like that really people forget that it's important. Like we talk about having relationships with ourselves, and I think that there's a lot of ways to do that. And I think masturbation is an important one to do that, because like for me, I write, and other people paint and like make music, and that's them being, in a way, that's them being intimate with themselves because they're creating. Well, sex is creation, and that's the same thing. So it's still a great way to not only, everyone talks about how, you learn yourself and you can tell your partners what you like. And yes, that's true and important. But also it's really about, I love that you said it grounds you, because it's just.
It definitely does. And it does teach you what you like. But, also masturbation versus, sex with a partner, it's done differently.
It is.
There's things that I like that I don't like with masturbation. There's, some people, when they masturbate, they only want the the clitoris stimulated because they don't like the feeling of toys inside there or the hands inside there.
Yeah.
But then they have inner orgasms, with their partner.
Right.
So
and
it's really just about, everybody's body is different, and just finding that flow with yourself, and like you said, grounding, and just, this is a stressful world we live in. Just give yourself a little bit of love.
Right. And allow yourself to just enjoy and be in the moment with yourself, no matter what. Like, I feel like that like transcends into anything, is like not just sex, but anything, is like when we try to really when we force ourselves or not allow ourselves to do things we want to do, or like say like it's important to parent ourselves, but sometimes we can over parent ourselves and kind of like hold ourselves back from things. And I feel like that is, I don't want to go back to the root chakra again, but I feel like it really does kind of create blocks. And masturbation is one of those things that I feel like a lot of people stop themselves from doing for whatever reason.
Yeah, and they could get their energy circulating through their body again.
Yeah.
Relatively quickly, and feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can like clear your mind. It's like basically like sex. It's just by yourself right? Instead.
You start to think about it, and you're like, wow, what a great thing.
I know. Yeah, and that's, I guess maybe some people don't want to masturbate because they don't feel good about their bodies. And so they kind of neglect that part. And I kind of want to move this from masturbation, but maybe we can talk about that part of womanhood, is like our relationship to our bodies in terms of breaking out of that shame of what we think it should look like, or.
Oh, definitely.
Or
yeah, I think that's the next myth, even, that a sexy woman is the perfect body.
Yeah. Yeah. What? And I think that's something that's interesting about being pregnant. When you were talking about being pregnant, and then that's when you felt the most beautiful, was at 5 months. And it's saying, there's something about that makes us feel like it does something different for us and how we see ourselves. And I think that's really interesting, because you're not perfect when you're pregnant, and you're not perfect when you're not pregnant. So I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore.
Well, it's just, you're not. So when you think of the word perfect, which is such a frivolous word and such a stupid standard, but you know what the image that you see is.
Right.
You know, a perfect female body. It goes back to that firm, tan, very small waist, but huge ass and huge boobs and just
right.
perfect everything that is not attainable for every woman. Like, everybody's going to be sized differently. Me at 33, my body does not look like it did when I was 20.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it any less beautiful, but it's different.
Yeah.
And, you know, a sexy woman isn't a woman that, you know, that looks this way. It's a woman that feels good about herself, and it then radiates from her. So by taking care of the body, by loving the body, by even the things that we eat, and this all revolves around shame. You know, if we're afraid to put things in our mouth, you know, our body's going to react to the fear when we're eating, and it's going to store fat, or it's going to, you know, it's going to make blemishes appear.
Yep.
You know, that all these things that have to do with us just not accepting and loving our body.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is another thing that comes up constantly, but about stretch marks being, like, they call them tiger stripes. And I don't know if that would offend some people, but I kind of love it because to me, it relates to that wild woman thing. And I think that there is this more primal, like, wild woman kind of energy to...
Well, I think just in general, I mean, as you age and you get older and your grays come in and you start to wrinkle, you know, the beauty industry has us believing that, like, we're supposed to stay forever young.
Yeah.
But, you know, the tiger stripes, that is the kind of thing that's empowering women to just embrace what they look like.
Yeah.
And once you just embrace what you look like, you see yourself for real.
Yeah.
You know, that's when you step away from this idea of having to attain some perfect beauty standard, and you're just like, oh, okay, this is graceful aging. This is me.
Right.
You know, as a woman, this preoccupation with youth. I mean, I think
Honoring
that's so much of
my
where the
body.
shame comes through. Yeah.
Yes, like, I'm going to honor my body. I'm going to just, like, speak love to it. Oh, man. And honestly, like, that poem, everyone should do that. Just do it. Just try it once. See how you feel. You might feel amazing. You're doing doula stuff right now?
Yeah.
When I have kids, I am having a doula and I'm having a home water birth, and there's no buts about it. Like, I don't want to go to a hospital. I don't like that shit.
Yeah.
What about shame and the body and womanhood? And we've been talking a lot about the root chakra, but what about the sacral chakra?
Well, and just kind of how that manifests too, like, as weight in the midsection.
Yeah.
A lot of that, I mean, that's completely the sacral, you know, that holds our sexuality. And if that's not, you know, if that's not balanced, a lot of the sex that we're having isn't balanced either.
Yeah.
I think especially for women, you know, if they've experienced trauma and things like that, they're not even fully in their body if they have sacral imbalances with their partner as much as they want to be. And I'm only speaking from personal experience, but it took a lot of, like, how you've written poems, it took a lot of writing and time and really looking through, you know, the archives of my brain of what I was storing up there.
Yes.
Just kind of, you know, balance out that sacral and get to the point where I could experience pleasure sexually.
Yes. And I just started offering services to kind of have one-on-one sessions with people who are struggling with their connection to their creativity, or like healing through creativity. Because I really deeply believe in the power of writing, especially, and how much that can just transmute so much, heal so much, and bring out things. I mean, it's very powerful work.
Well, and it's powerful for the reader and the writer, because the writer, you know, does the alchemy and shares their story, and then the reader has the opportunity to pick it up and not feel alone, or to find the words that they hold on to these things and they don't know how to vocalize them. And you pick up a book or a poem, or, you know, something that someone's written, all of a sudden you're like, that's the language that I was missing. Yeah. You know, because as we're learning our own language, the people around us are so crucial in helping us to remember. And so that's why I think the written word is a crucial step in that process.
Definitely. And I just remembered the thought that I had before that I forgot is that it's interesting, you know, when we're talking about like the media and how it feeds us, I wonder who created these beauty standards because, I mean, we know who they center around, but I was thinking like so many men in real life actually don't care about any of the imperfections that we are so focused on.
Exactly.
Or hyper aware of, you know?
Well, because even the ones that do, it's something that they were conditioned.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
It's not a natural instinct either.
Yep.
And it really is just relearning and kind of tuning it out and realizing that it was a program.
Yeah.
You know, and not necessarily every program that has been implemented is meant to be, you know, something like super evil, but it's just something that happened, and just releasing it and knowing, okay, maybe this just isn't serving me anymore.
Yeah.
And this beauty standard and holding myself, the reason I am so focused on it is not because I want to look this way. It's just because I want to be healthy and happy with who I am.
Yeah.
How
Definitely.
can I be healthy and happy with who I am?
Yeah. Ooh, and then the more happy you are with yourself as a person, I feel like when you really truly are the person you love, then your body they'll merge at some point. The two.
Yeah, you open.
Yes.
It's like, you know, like that whole flower metaphor.
Yeah.
You know, the rose, you can see it in your mind.
Yeah.
You know, the petals expanding.
Mm.
And that's when you release the shame and you alchemize it. That's what your psyche and as your chakras open, that's what is happening. You're blooming. Yeah. That's why that metaphor is used so much, is because people can feel that in their body.
Right.
That's what, you know, everything is opening up. It's that goes back to that healing spiral that you were saying. You know, that's our chakras are spirals too. Mm. So as they open, the spiral is bigger and it emits a, you know, higher frequency.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk about you said here that shame is a powerful drug and you become submissive to it, even unknowingly.
Yeah.
And that is so real, because how often do we sleepwalk through these things, or, you know, not on purpose, but it's like when you're not aware of this stuff, it's crazy, like how much we can be unaware. And then sometimes when we start to be more present, or the more that we embody who we are, the harder it could be to be present. Because you're like, at first it's kind of jarring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, it's for you and for the people around you. Because they're like, oh, wow, she's changed. She's not so submissive anymore. Because I think shame makes you submissive. You don't feel like you can speak up for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you don't necessarily know what you want.
Yeah, or you don't trust yourself that you know what you're feeling.
Oh, yeah, that's perfectly said, definitely.
When you experience trauma that makes you question yourself constantly, that absolutely links back to that root, and it disconnects you from your body, and then you're like kind of in the la-la land of your brain.
Exactly. I mean, if you're disassociating from your vessel that keeps you on the planet, I mean, everything you do. So if you have shame and you're floating around, you're not necessarily nothing. Your sex, your relationships, none of it is actually as healthy and as big as it could be, because it's built on a shaky foundation. Right.
And your relationship with yourself, like everything.
Oh, exactly. It all comes back to that.
Whew. This is some deep stuff.
I know. I feel like we covered a lot of things.
Yeah. I mean, this is like a lot. It's amazing. And I know that, like, I honestly feel like we could go on and on and on in this stuff. And I'm so glad that we're having this conversation, because, I mean, so sometimes when I'm talking about things that stir something in my body that maybe I'm not aware of, I start to shake. Like, yes. The energy's moving and I get shaky. And like, for some of this conversation, I've been so shaky, and I'm like, and I'm not even upset about it. I'm like, that's good to me, because it means that something's processing, you know what I mean? And like, I'm pushing something out right now, or
you're releasing something.
Yes, releasing. Thank you.
Your body was holding on to, that was weighing you down.
Yeah. It's whew. Well, our final, so that was the third. We went through the first 3 myths. And, you know, there's like probably a million, but we have one more here that's his pleasure is more important than her pleasure. And my goodness, how difficult is it sometimes for women to understand and accept that they deserve pleasure?
Like, and it's a joke in the media. I mean, I do feel like a lot of TV shows and things are embracing a female orgasm more. You know, I feel like there's a lot more scenes of oral sex being performed on women recently. I've seen a surge in that. Sorry to interrupt,
but remember how big of a fucking deal it was when Blue Valentine came out? And when, like, looking back, I'm like, oh my God, all he did was go down on her. Why was this so groundbreaking? Like, people have been doing this since the beginning of fucking time. And that's just, it's wild to me.
Mm-hmm. So
oh my God. It just popped in my head. I was like, oh my God, speaking of that, like, fucking Ryan Gosling just broke the fucking mold. It's like, oh my God. And it's great. Yes, it's great. It's great that it started the conversation, but it's like, and it's just amazing. I mean, that didn't even come out that long ago, and it was so blew up the internet. And it's like, whoa, it is not 1930. Or like, what? I do that all the time when something like that is happening, and I'm like, what fucking year are we in? You know, like with the abortion ban and everything, it's like, what is going on? Like, holy shit.
Know.
Anyway, but I do want to talk about
lots of energies that are like very conflicting.
Yeah. But I do want to talk about the pleasure is important, because there are, I think I literally talk about it in my book at some point, of women commanding pleasure. And it's crazy, because even if you're with a partner who's like, so say we're talking about just men and women, cis men and women, because I cannot speak on a trans person's experience. But when I think about men and women engaging in sex, so even sometimes women are with men who are like so ready to please, right? And they're like, I will do literally anything you want to you. Like, I'm here for you. And that's like a beautiful man right there, you know? Like, that's the kind of person you want to be with, someone who's like super down for your pleasure. And I think that it's interesting that sometimes women, that like approach is so refreshing and amazing, but it's also like, oh, thank you so much, but I actually don't know what I want you to do to me, and I don't know what, I just want to, I know I want to have sex with you, but I don't know what I need, what I want. It's really nice that you offering all these things, but like, I have to learn how to receive, or like allow myself to know that pleasure is good for me, and it's okay, and I'm allowed to have it.
Well, Nick, it goes back to, you know, this is a culmination of all the other myths that we talked about stacked on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
When you have people that are disassociated from their bodies, that have learned to kind of be shameful of their sexual desires and of their bodies, and then they're going and having sex with another person.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a recipe for disaster, because they don't necessarily know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it does take takes having a partner that you trust.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's something, you know, our culture shames sex, but it sure does say have as many partners as you want. I will say that when you have the same partner, I mean, you guys really learn.
Oh, yeah.
You get safe, you can be safe with somebody, you really learn what you like.
Yeah, yeah. And what they like. And then you can experience pleasure that you didn't even know is possible, because you're open with this person you feel safe with. That's come up multiple times on this podcast, and I'm totally okay with that.
What you want.
Yeah, well, no, the fact that everyone should be feel safe with their partner.
Yes, and that, I mean, because you can't feel safe, you can't have these conversations that are going to lead to both of you getting what you need and what you desire.
And you definitely will not be pleasured or allow yourself to receive pleasure if you don't feel safe.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, even if he's going down on you, if it's not the way that you like it and you don't feel comfortable being like, hey, Steve, slow down. You know, it's not, it's gonna be a terrible experience.
Yes. And I'm sorry to laugh, but I just always feel like in like comedy and everything, they always go to the name Steve. And so that's so funny that you said, I love it.
I almost said Chad.
Chad works too. I love it. But yeah, it is incredibly important. And I think that's something that they should teach. I mean, that's something we should all learn from a young age, is how to make each other feel safe in sexual and non-sexual ways.
And that's the communication component. I mean, it's crucial. I mean, that's how, we learn to be intimate with each other.
Yeah.
If you can't communicate, I mean, there's going to be an intimacy breakdown eventually.
Definitely.
If not right away.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you don't feel safe, you're not going to communicate and you're not going to be intimate, because intimacy is about being open. And I feel like we can only really be intimate if we're feeling safe.
Exactly. And if you're not communicating, you're not going to create an intimate setting.
Exactly.
It's all connected.
Exactly. Man, I'm trying to tie that idea back into the body, but I mean, it really is all connected.
That goes to the root and the sacral.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not, feeling confident in yourself. So how can you communicate your needs?
Absolutely.
Then internalizing it, it's creating a block within your lower 3 chakras, I would say.
Yes.
And then the imbalances, they just keep building.
Yeah.
Before this talk, I'm wearing a yellow sweatshirt right now. I ate some red cherries.
Oh my God, I am wearing
orange clementine.
Yes.
Just to kind of align those 3.
That's beautiful.
Go outside in the rain with my socks off for a second, okay, let's get our feet in the ground.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I'm wearing a red shirt right now.
Amazing.
That's perfect. And I'm drinking from a mug that is yellow.
Oh my goodness. See, look at us.
And I didn't even do it on purpose. I know. Oh, and my phone case is yellow. I just got a new phone case, and it's from Pela Case. And
I've seen those.
Yeah, they definitely Instagram ad targeted me, but I'm okay with that because I love
That's why they were showing up on my feed.
Yep.
There we go.
Yep, and they make biodegradable phone cases that are not all of it, but some of the proceeds go toward environmental stuff. And I got the one with the little bees on it because I love bees and they're my favorite. Yeah.
Yes.
So
I can see it. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah. I highly recommend. I had a phone case, a wallet phone case that I really liked, but I was like, I hate this chunky ass thing in my hand.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but now I'm like, it's actually really convenient to have your cards and stuff right next to your phone.
Right there.
But anyways, so yeah, I didn't know this was going to be so chakra heavy, but it's kind of perf.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to go into so much of being a child and kind of working through.
Isn't that funny
things?
How it connects all these things? Man. Mm-hmm. It's really crazy how adults are really just the walking messes of their childhood, and I think that it's kind of comical because I feel like it's literally all of us.
Yes.
That's the one thing that every single human being kind of shares, and I just really commend everyone working on their healing in whatever capacity is comfortable for them, because it is the most important work you'll ever do in your life, probably. For me, I know that there are certain things that I really, and my healing won't be complete. My healing wasn't completely done when I started dating my partner. And it's beautiful because I feel like when you meet the right person, you learn more of what needs to heal. But you have the safe space to do so versus doing I really believe you can only do so much on your own, by yourself, and that different relationships, whether it's friends, family, romantic partners, whoever it is, they also contribute to your healing if you are thinking, if you're allowing it and everything.
Oh, definitely, because it's so much easier to be alone. You don't have to ever.
You don't ever have to face anything. Exactly.
Yeah. Do what you want to do.
Exactly. And then I was linking that to something else. I could only do so much before I was with my partner, but then I also was thinking even before I was in a relationship again, because it had been a long time before this, I was constantly okay, well, there are things that I know that I want to heal within myself before I have kids, because there's no way in fucking frozen over hell that I'm passing this down. And I know it's not 100% foolproof, and I'm still, even when I become a mom, I'm going to still be healing stuff. I know it, and that's okay. But I'm I have to do as much as possible before that.
I think that's the best thing that you can do for your kids. I had to do a lot of my healing already as a mother. It was that relationship that triggered it, and while I don't think she's aware of it, necessarily. Like, I was very good at keeping that boundary in place where it didn't affect her.
Mm-hmm.
I see how much easier certain things with my younger children have been.
Okay. Are you talking about your oldest daughter?
I questioned myself. Yeah, like, I questioned myself a lot more. And I wasn't as solid, I don't think, when she was younger.
Yeah.
Because I had, I had my own issues with sex. When her dad would tickle her, it would make me uncomfortable.
Oh, wow.
Weird stuff like that. And I'd have to, pull him aside later and be like, I don't want her to know, but it was really weird for me to see you tickle her. Like, can we work through why that is triggering me, why I'm afraid to see a man touching his own daughter? Like, there were deep issues that I had, with afraid of her being hurt by somebody because of my own trauma.
Yeah.
So I do think definitely try to work through it before you have kids, because if there's stuff in there,
well, you're kind of, and you're kind of supporting my point that it's not always foolproof, because you never know what, I feel like kids are actually probably amazing triggers for healing, because they will show you what's bugging you, and you're going to be like, whoa, what's happened? Why am I feeling this? And it's exactly that. I think that's why parent and child relationships are so important too, because I think a lot of parents forget that they learn from their kids.
Yes.
Just as much as they teach their kids.
Well, and that they're sovereign beings, so they're not like mini yous.
Yes.
Like they're their own person with their own moods, their own feelings,
right.
And they're definitely our teachers. I think especially a lot of the kids being born now are much older.
Mm-hmm.
In a sense, they have a lot to teach us.
I really sense that, yes. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying this. I'm glad that we're having this conversation, and I'm even glad that we're sharing it on the platform we're sharing it on, because I think that it's very important stuff, and it's not easy stuff to talk about. And I really am proud of both of us for having this conversation today, actually, because for real, I think that a lot of people are going to relate to this. I'm sorry that you relate to it, because it can be heavy stuff, but it's also...
That's okay.
Exactly.
I don't know. This is important work. I feel like it's a lot of what I was put here to do.
Me too.
So it's okay.
Yes, I completely agree. So thank you for talking to me about this, because I think it's important that women just have these conversations and these spaces with each other. Everybody, because like I said, everyone has this collective kind of connection to being human, is just that we all have trauma and we all have things to heal. And so in whatever space you feel safe is the space, or, create the space that makes you feel safe. And and
to just release that conditioned shame. It's not real. Like, your body, everything, like, you have to embrace it and just release the things that make you feel dirty and bad. It's not real.
Yeah. I mean, I'm stunned to silence, because I'm kind of just absorbing what you just said. It's so, so real. And I think that so much of our society actually stems out of shame of some sort.
Yes.
Like, for some reason, in my mind just now, I thought of the shootings that happen all the time.
Well, yeah, it's an exploitation of shame. It's a nurturing of shame. It's a disconnect. When they can disconnect us from our body and from our pleasure centers, they're disconnecting us from our heart.
Oof, yeah.
And I mean, it's a ripple effect to our society.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, and it reminds me actually how much love men actually need. I'm thinking now of the post you shared earlier from, is it called Sacred Sons?
Yes.
They're
California based.
They are. They're in San Diego.
Yes.
If any man is listening to this right now and you have an Instagram, go look up Sacred Sons. It's spelled exactly how it sounds.
Sons as in a sun, not a sun in the sky.
Yes.
Yes.
Sacred sons, like your children. And it's like the most beautiful expression of healthy masculinity. Whenever there's and we don't have to go super deep on this, but whenever there is another mass shooting and it's another white man, I think about this disconnect of men to their hearts and it's just like so perpetuated all over the damn place. And it's...
Well, everything that we talked about, I mean, the myths, the shame, understanding our bodies, these are things that are also being pushed onto the men.
Yeah.
So even though women, I do feel like we get the brunt of it, there is a whole psychological thing on a mass scale.
Yes.
That, is happening with our men. And, there's other topics that people can get into with circumcision and everything on, how, what we're doing to our men. So I think it's really important that you're bringing up sacred sons, and that men do feel that they have the space to work through their programs.
Yes.
To figure out, what they like opposed to what society told them that they like, and what they feel as opposed to what society told them that they feel. And this all goes back to the root chakra, the sacral, even the solar plexus, just getting down into those lower energies.
Yeah.
Writing about it, like you said, getting quiet, just kind of really thinking about yourself outside of everything else.
Yes.
And just connecting with your center and hearing yourself. And so I think, men need to do it just as much as women. Otherwise, it's not all of the work is going to be for naught.
Yes.
We rise together.
Absolutely. Whew. I felt that so deep. For real. It's really important to me. Like I have a little brother, and I try to have conversations with him and let him know that it's okay to be soft, and it's okay to feel, and it's okay to be sad, or it's okay to hurt about something, and that you don't have to get angry.
Yes.
Not that anger can't be a powerful tool, but you know what I mean. I feel like most people know what I'm getting at because of the way that, it goes back to male violence, like going back to the shootings. that you don't have to be angry, or you can channel it. You can channel the anger in a healthy way.
Well, definitely. My 6-year-old son, when he was the softest little boy in the world.
Oh.
He is in first grade now, and after a year of being in school, he still has that tender heart, but there's a difference that you can see,
Wow, yeah.
It happens quick.
Yeah.
And you just have to be that role model at home, and just hope that, what you're doing is going to be more impacting than everything else. You can't shield everyone from everything forever.
Yes, and I was just thinking about how fast these things happen to children is kind of terrifying, because they're so little, and it's crazy how fast they're exposed to things that harm them or that could harm them. And that's why I think when I say we're all a bunch of adults who are just a mess of our childhood traumas, that's why working with your inner child and on your root and reparenting yourself is so important. And I feel like that's been coming up a lot lately.
Definitely.
That's what it takes, really.
Sophia Barbosa, she's going to be on the show, I believe.
Yes.
She had a inner child meditation that actually was really beautiful, that she had available for a little while, and it really helped me kind of connect, with that part of myself on an even deeper level.
That's beautiful. And I thought once you brought up meditation, I thought of Mariam Hasnia, because I'm not sure if she has an inner child meditation, but she has a forgiveness meditation on her SoundCloud. I think those kind of go hand in hand, and It's free on SoundCloud. So I would definitely recommend anyone go listen. And if Sophia's is available, I would love to share it. But if it's not,
Yeah, I feel like she may have changed some of her offerings, but at one point it was something that she had available.
Yeah. Well, either way, that's beautiful. And a lot of people do kind of offer inner child stuff. I actually haven't seen anyone in a while, but I feel like there's definitely something out there for those things. Thank you so much for being here. This has been amazing. And I know for everyone listening, Asia and I talk about these things kind of all the time in our work and on our Instagrams and in our writing. And I would definitely, if you're interested in everything we've been talking, if you're listening to this, you probably already follow me, or her, or both of us. But if you don't, and you're interested in that work, we both talk about it all the time. So please feel free to, at least for me, I can't speak for Asia, but comment on my post and talk to me and tweet at me, and we can keep talking about these things, because it matters and it's important, and community is important, and kind of airing these things out brings a lot of relief. And so I'm always available to talk. And like I said, I offer services. I offer one-on-one sessions, and we can go much deeper into all this work. And you guys can definitely connect with me online. Check out my website. I do offer root chakra work online. You just started again.
Interested? Yeah.
Yes, I was like, oh my God, I need it.
Yeah. Otherwise, a lot of what I work around is in birth and then sacred sexuality. But yeah, definitely connect with me online. I'd love to explore everything further with you.
Yeah. Yay. Well, thank you so much, Asia. And to all the soul babies, we love you. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Yay.